Foxtails. A long time ago, in the middle of an enormous sea, there was a small island called the Fox Island. It was inhabited by a tribe of courageous foxes. They built their village on the seashore in a lovely fox valley. Their main occupation was fishing. One day, in the ever-calm Fox Valley, the earth started to shake. Rocks began falling onto the village, posing a great danger for the inhabitants. The Fox Chief summoned a meeting where the two bravest warriors were chosen. They were supposed to set out on a mission in order to find out what the reason for the earthquakes was.
Samar and Kala. Samar and Kala. Samar and Kala.
The first of the warriors was Samar, the bravest fox in the whole village. A few years back, Samar chased away a giant octopus, which was a nuisance for the fishing foxes. The other chosen warrior was Kala. She was known for her long, lonely journeys into the unknown. Thanks to her knowledge, many useful maps were drafted. She knew the whole island like the back of her hand. Kala and Samar worked together a long time ago. Hand in hand, they chased the muddy monster away from the Fox Valley. But this is a story you will hear another time. The delegated warriors said goodbye to their friends and set out on a long and dangerous journey. When they reached the source of the earthquakes, they saw a giant ogre. He was throwing rocks near the waterfall, and the impact caused the small earthquakes. Suddenly, Kala lost her focus and slid down the rock, making a noise that even the ogre heard. The annoyed ogre quickly noticed the intruder and grabbed Kala with his enormous paw. Appearances may be deceptive. The ogre was in fact rather gentle. It turned out that he had lost his magical fishing rod and could not find it anywhere. This was why he was throwing the rocks, hoping that he would finally find it. The foxes promised they would make a new fishing rod for the ogre. In return, he was supposed to ensure that the area would remain peaceful. The ogre agreed to such a bond. The ogre gave the foxes a map with the marked places where the materials necessary for the new magical fishing rod could be found. The first place on the map was the Snake Mountain, with a magic tree hidden inside. The branches of this tree were the perfect material for the fishing rod. In order to get inside the mountain unnoticed, the foxes decided to dig a tunnel. After many hours of hard work, they finally reached the inside of the mountain. They had to be very careful. According to legend, the tree was watched by a snake guard. The snake guard was indeed protecting the tree, hissing and writhing around the tree trunk. Wow! Wow! Thanks to their skills and cleverness, the foxes managed to reach under the tree, which turned out to be a talking Triton. Without much thought, the brave Samar started to climb the tree for the magic branch. Kala kept watch. Suddenly, the branch that Samar was climbing on broke, and the fox fell down onto the back of the snake guard. The Triton did not seem to like what the foxes were doing, and he wanted to teach them a lesson. Kala also jumped onto the snake's back. Together with Samar, they tried to control the hissing beast, which was like a rodeo. The beast rapidly jerked its head, throwing the foxes up in the air and far above the Snake Mountains. Fortunately, the foxes landed on an old tree. When their emotions subsided, it turned out that Samar still had the broken branch with him. The first part of the fishing rod was there.
Oh! Oh!
In the morning, our warriors set out for the next place on the ogre's map, the Moonlit Bay, home of a giant whale called the Ship Gobbler. In the belly of the whale, there was a golden hook, another element needed for the magical fishing rod. Kala suggested that they construct a ship that looked like a fish. This is how they wanted to get inside the belly of the whale. The idea was good, so they got down to work. When the fishy ship was ready, the foxes sailed towards the monster. Fortunately, it was stormy. This is when the whale opens his mouth and waits for the fish to swim inside. Immediately after they left their ship, the foxes noticed the golden hook stuck in the whale's palate. All they had to do now was to find their way back.
Eh?
Woohoo! 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 Woohoo!
Eh?
Woohoo!
Kala and Samar thought that if they tickled the whale's tongue together, the beast might sneeze and push them out of his mouth. The idea was successful, and the foxes soon got out of the trap onto a fountain of water. The last part of the mission seemed the easiest. They had to pick up a fragment of a spider's web in the spider cave located at the southern part of the island. The closer the foxes were to the cave, the more hostile the area looked, and the more anxious they felt.
Ja! Aja! Ja! Aja!
In the spider cave, there was an unpleasant, pungent smell. Cocoons hanging down from the vault and weird sounds here and there seemed to spell a disaster. Disregarding his instinct, Samar cut off a fragment of the web they were looking for. Suddenly, an enormous spider crawled out from the shadow, cutting off the way out of the cave. The spider pushed both foxes from the rock straight into the spider's web. They were trapped. Samar used the golden hook to break free from the web, while Kala bravely chased the beast away. Samar moved upwards to cut off the remaining threads of the spider's web, and Kala continued to distract the monster's attention. The mission was soon completed. The web broke and the foxes fell outside the cave, where the spider could no longer reach them. Finally, the time came to combine all the elements collected during the journey and make the fishing rod. When the foxes handed the fishing rod to the ogre, he was overjoyed. He could now stop looking for the previous rod, so the earthquakes in the Fox Valley stopped. When Samar and Kala returned to the Fox Valley, they were greeted as genuine heroes, and the inhabitants of the village held a sumptuous feast for them. Foxtails.
Hey.